Welcome to the Quiet Warrior Show, where we help top leaders find their pathway to incredible success and a lifetime of happiness. Here is your host, Tom Dutta, the Quiet Warrior.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Quiet Warrior Show. Hey, it's Tom Dutta here. Tom Dutta like butter, and we're live streaming. And that means that we are on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, X, and my favorite new platform, Rumble. And so thank you, everybody, because you're watching. The show is growing. We're booked out now for 4 months every week with guests with a waiting list. We've crossed well over the 300 episode mark. They're telling me that that's pretty cool. We've also been nominated twice now in 2 years for top Canadian leadership podcast by FeedSpot. It's quite an honor. Couldn't do it without you. Today, we have a real treat for you. It's an incredible guest, as they all are. This one is very unique. And so you can chat with us, put a chat comment in the chat box. I can bring it on screen, ask a question. This will be produced and released as a podcast in 19 countries, also as a YouTube video premiere at some point in the future. Right now, you're peeking in the studio. And so let me get us rolling here. Stand by. What would it be like to get to know our guest in a deep, intimate way? Let me read you something here. What do you call a man who graduates from Dartmouth College with an Ivy League education, then spends 20 years smoking crack cocaine in utility closets, selling his body for drugs, and serving multiple prison sentences? Most people would call him a failure, a cautionary tale, a waste of potential. But what if I told you that the same man is now a certified fundraising executive who has raised millions for nonprofits across North America? What if that man wrote a book that Tim Story calls Proof That Your Biggest Setbacks Can Set the Stage for Your Greatest Comebacks? Today, we're diving into one of the most raw, unfiltered transformation stories I've ever encountered. This isn't some sanitized redemption narrative where everything works out perfectly. Nope. This is a story of a man who looked death in the face multiple times, sometimes by overdose, sometimes by his own hand, and somehow found a way back to life. Ken Miller's journey takes us from the privileged halls of Dartmouth to the crack houses of Jackson, Mississippi, from three-piece suits and modeling contracts to sleeping with cockroaches in a Reno utility closet. Whew. From selling rocks of cocaine for $10 to raising hundreds of thousands of dollars for soup kitchens and social services. But here's what makes Ken's story different from every other recovery memoir I've read. He doesn't just tell you how he fell. He shows you exactly how the human spirit can be rebuilt, piece by piece, choice by choice, grace by grace. His new book, Becoming Ken, and here it is here in my hand, isn't just his story. It's a roadmap for anyone who's ever felt too broken to be fixed, too far gone to come back, too damaged to be loved. The question that haunted Ken for decades was simple. How did an Ivy League graduate become a crack-addicted drifter? Today, we're going to find out. And more importantly, we're going to discover how he became something else entirely. It's a pleasure to bring onto the platform Ken Miller. Ken, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, Tom. I'm looking forward to it.
What was it like sitting back there having you hear about you in a dramatic way?
It was interesting, because it's an interpretation of a person's life, 62 years.
Yeah.
And it encompassed a time, probably you could say that between the ages of 17 to literally to today, 62. And to encapsulate that in one paragraph, I thought you did a great job, to be honest with you. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And to the audience, if you're watching us on video, you can see Ken. If you're on the audio only, when I vet the guest, Ken sent me this beautiful book. Ken, we'll get talking about this in just a bit, but I'm going to hold it up because I'm proud of it. And I have all of the books that are sent to me. This one's personally signed as a backdrop in my studio. But I challenged Ken, didn't I? I said, hey, go deeper, tell me more. And then I pulled together what I read up front is truly based on what you told me. and it was remarkable. So, Ken, are you ready to go into Plato's Garden to do some storytelling?
I sure am.
Okay. All right. Full of surprises today. All right. Let me put something on the screen and then we're going to set this up when we tidy and edit this later. Okay. Let me just add that to the stage. Can you see that there?
Yes, I can.
All right. So stand by. I'm going to set this up. Well, Ken, welcome to Plato's Garden. So something on the screen there for you, for the audience. Plato was an Athenian philosopher during the classical period in ancient Greece, founder of the Platonic school of thought in the academy, from the Greek word academia, and Ken, the first institution of higher learning in the Western world, apparently. So what we're going to be doing today is, I'm not a talking head interviewer. We're going to weave the story of Ken through three areas. And when the audience pull all this together and critically think about all the info, hopefully they can find deeper meanings of Ken. We call this the influences of context. So let me just explain it. First, we're going to talk about macro, what was happening in the world around you that may have influenced your public works. And then mezzo, what was happening in your industry or sector that influenced your public work, what you do. And my favorite, Ken, and I think a big part of you, is micro. What was going on in your personal life that may have influenced your public works? So you won't know I'm doing this. I'll remove that off the screen. But as I'm asking you things and we're riffing, we're going to be going all over the place and hopefully emerge at the end with a, wow, I really understand who Ken is. So let's get rocking. Let me set this up. I wrote a few things here. Ken, your book opens with you waking up among cockroaches in a utility closet of a Reno rooming house with a landlord threatening to call the cops. In a moment, take us to that moment. What was going on through your mind as you realized this Ivy League graduate had become someone even he didn't recognize? So here's the first question in micro. You write about being adopted at 6 and losing your twin brother Jacob in the process. So Ken, how did that early experience of love and loss shape the man who later spent decades chasing acceptance through substances and relationships? Go.
Great question. Again, it starts pretty much when I'm 6 years old, but you can even go back a couple of years before that as a 4-year-old, understanding that I did not have a biological mother. As a 4-year-old, I understood that because every month or every 2 to 3 weeks, Jacob and I would go to another foster home. And I knew I did not have a mother. And there's a sense of longing, a sense of not having belonging, a sense of lack of unconditional love that a mother can produce. And I knew I did not have that. And so when I was adopted at age 6, I was broken. But before I got adopted, I went through the adoption system.
Yeah.
And it was only me. And Jacob wasn't coming with me. Biologically, was he my brother? No. But we had gone together since my consciousness as a 3 or 4-year-old as a twosome, as two young Black children in the New York foster care system. So I thought of him as my brother.
Yeah.
And we were that close. We were the same age. And so when I was so happy to be adopted because I wanted a mother, but I was so sad because I was leaving Jacob. And to this day, I have not found him. I've looked for 50 some years.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for sharing that, Ken. That's very personal. And it's a lot about the book when I read it. What year roughly was that when you were in the system there? What take us back? What was in the
So let's rewind real quick to my birth.
Yeah.
So my mother was a white teenage runaway. My father was a Black pimp and drug dealer. And I was the byproduct of that union. And my mother put me up for adoption at birth.
I see.
Because they didn't have biracial children very often. And she's 17 years old. So 1962, I was born, October 15th.
Okay.
And I was in the foster system until 1969.
Okay. Wow. Man, to everybody, if you take the lens of that story and go back in time and just visualize what it was like to be in your shoes, I don't think anybody really can. That's why it's so powerful about this book. So just hold it up there on camera and tell us and read the title out loud. You've written a book about all this.
So the book is Becoming Ken, and there's a reason why it's called that. And it's one black man's journey from the Ivy League to prison and back again. And
Yeah.
of course, I think the key is the back again.
Well, I like it. And so I have a personally signed copy of it here, and I've read it. I've also done the audiobook, and I was thrilled with the audiobook very much. It's hard to read some of it. It's hard to put it down. And I highlighted a couple things. So as we get continuing in Plato's Garden here, one of the things on just the early part was, how did I, an Ivy League graduate from Dartmouth, become a crack-addicted drifter, sleeper in a closet? And then on the very next page, the crack road to the broom closet. In July of 2004, I was standing outside a Holiday Inn in Reno. The summer heat had soared past 100. My entire existence, from waking to collapsing, revolved around hustling spare change for my next can of beer, a rock of crack. Man, I've been to that parts of Reno, and I've stood on those streets. And again, that sent me on a journey. So let me throw something back out at you. I wrote down here, you were called Kenneth John Horn Turley Miller. Explain just that, because that's kind of a longer name.
Oh, that's such a great question. I did a 10-minute talk on just that name. So this is really interesting. So when I was adopted, at age 6, I told everyone my name is Kenneth John Horn Turley Miller, because Miller was the family that adopted me, Irene and Sam Miller. Turley's was my last foster home, so that was John and Olive Turley. Horn, Kenneth John Horn. I don't know where Horn came from. I did not know where Horn came from until I found my biological mother and found out her name was Horn. Her name was Joanne Horn. I should never have known that as a 6-year-old. I should not have known my biological, because that's hidden. That was a secret. And I've lived with a lot of secrets for a lot of time. So again, so that's what I said to people if you saw me in 1st grade, what's your name? My name is Kenneth John Horn Turley Miller.
Well, first of all, I give you credit for being able to say it, and I can tell you'd never be a hockey player because they couldn't fit it on the jersey.
Not at all.
It's I'm already bonding to you and feeling that oxytocin flowing, which makes me feel you're a bit like me, because I have 4 names: Thomas, Ashok, Harold, Dutta, and I always was frustrated. And Harold is the doctor that delivered me, apparently. Ashok, my late father. So there you have it, right? Okay. Let's keep going. So we're in micro still, personal. Your father, Sam, man, when I read the book, there's a lot of stuff in there about Sam. I can tell you this is about you, but there's a lot of stuff about Sam that was like my own father.
Wow.
And we'll get into that. Your father, Sam, terrified you with his drunken rages, yet you write about eventually confronting him in that rundown apartment. Ken, what was it like to discover that the monster of your childhood had become just a sad, broken old man?
It was relieving, because until I dealt with that, I carried a tremendous amount of fear and trepidation, just in literally my daily walk, because I'm in the same city. I'm in Anchorage, Alaska.
Yeah.
And I knew I had to deal with it. And, the key is I was 22 years old when I dealt with that.
Yeah.
That's how long it took me. I'm a grown man. I'm 6'2", 210. Yeah. And when I saw him, what I realized, he's this old guy. He's this old guy. Even though he was an old guy, he still had one more bullet in the chamber, as we may say. Yeah.
No, it's the connection is, I think when people read the book, because alcoholism is a global issue. Mm-hmm. My father was in 23 years in AA when he passed away in 2018. He left home when I was 12, but he was addicted to the drink, and so was my grandfather. Mm-hmm. But the rage part, that was part of my life. I understand that. The book is very, I won't use the word graphic, but very detailed in terms of you absorbed a lot of physical abuse and mental abuse from Sam. How did that confrontation change your relationship with your own addiction?
It didn't, because I was early on. It was early on. So what it did is it relieved the fear I had when I got out of college. So I was clean and sober for 2 years out of college.
Ah,
So I meet him, I'm sober, and it allowed me to relieve a lot of that fear until he shot my mom. And then the fear came back. And then I had to deal with it again by visiting him in prison and allowing myself to forgive him for the
wow.
shooting.
Man, what can you say the prison without reaching any? What
Well, yeah,
was
it's
it?
Highland Mountain, Highland Correctional Center.
Where a national, international audience. So what state?
It's in Alaska, in a
Alaska.
town called Eagle River, Alaska.
I see. Wow, man. So, yeah, I mean, I do some work now. I do some work in a prison ministry. I go in and I work with inmates who read books to their children. We record it and then send it to the child. I know exactly what it's like in those places. And when my dad was drinking, driving, he stayed overnight in his cell. My brother had to go pick him up. So it's a very unnerving place. If you watch the movies, it doesn't do justice to meeting somebody who's been through that. Can you describe the exact moment crack cocaine took hold of you? That first bell ringer that had you hooked in 2 minutes. Walk us through what addiction actually feels like from the inside when it's winning.
When it's winning, when you haven't surrendered. So when it's winning, addiction, very simply, it encompasses all aspects of you, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually.
Yeah.
And you can almost say there's a gauge on each of them. So it may not affect you physically in the beginning as much as it will do emotionally and mentally, because then you're in pursuit of that high or that drug.
Yeah.
And then in time, it will affect all four of them and the tank will become empty.
Yeah.
One of the keys, and I'll say this real quick, is that day I woke up in the closet, utility closet. The problem was I was down to about 1% spiritually. That's the problem. I had lost hope. I had 1% of hope left. And when that leaves, then suicide becomes a viable alternative. I've already had tried it in the past when I had gotten to that level. So
what was your potential tool of suicide? Was it drugs, overdose?
No. So first I did an overdose the first time.
Yeah.
The second time I was going to, and I mean going, I was very serious. I was going to jump off the Spokane Falls Bridge in Spokane, Washington. And for this one, I probably would have gotten access to a gun because I had access to guns being on the street. And I probably would have used that as my method.
Wow. Man, I'm already feeling the weight of your story. Just something I want to put on screen here. I have a third camera in the studio. You can see it, and I've done a lot of reading of your book and summarize some things. So I want to get you to challenge me if I'm on track, because I thought, how do I get you to talk about bits of the book? Let me just read it something and then have you talk to me about it. Okay. One of the things you need to know, you might know this, is I just submitted my thesis for a doctorate degree, and you're actually part of this platform of podcasts is part of that, because my whole degree. The title of it is called The Quiet Revelation, Unfolding Identity in a Complex World. And man, when I read your book and just your story, it's like you're part of that whole thing that I did. One of the pieces of research I came upon from I think it was a Washington University, was this diagram called the circle of security. And it's a circle like that, oval. And it actually stopped me in my tracks because it's well researched, but it talks about what a child needs as they're growing up. And so things like nurturing, please allow me to express my social expression, be there when I need to come back to you, let me explore all this stuff. What I do out of habit now when I see somebody like you who's gone through, when I go, not there, not there, not there. So that way that shaped you. So I'll just read this to you here now. Becoming Ken is simultaneously a memoir, a recovery guide, and a meditation on grace. Miller structures his narrative around key transformational moments rather than chronological progression, allowing readers to understand not just what happened, but how each experience shaped his evolving identity. The part one is, I call it the foundation cracks, childhood to college. I just highlight a few things. Ken's core wound, loss of belonging, separation from brother Jacob, and Miller's childhood with Sam provides insight into how domestic violence shapes neural pathways. His Dartmouth experience reveals how privilege and opportunity mean nothing without emotional foundation. Ken had unprocessed trauma. Just comment on some of that.
True. Yeah, unprocessed trauma. And I was thinking about that earlier before we came on about the word trauma, and is it overused?
Yeah.
And I cannot say that for anyone. I just know my trauma.
Yeah.
The term I use is I was broken. And what it means, I didn't have integrity of self. I was broken. I was broken at age 6. I was broken at age 17. I was broken at age 23. And there were probably 2 or 3 more times that I was truly broken.
Yeah.
So what you do is you acquire defense mechanisms to be able to get through life.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are inimical to your long-term well-being. So I created a lot of negative ways of dealing with the world because I always saw the world as being dangerous because I was in a lot of pain and discomfort. And so I acquired these traits, and I'll just give you one example. I learned a lot. I learned dishonesty very early. I was probably 8 years old, and I learned how to lie.
What was one of the first lies you can recall, and who did you tell it to?
Well, it was always the same. It started off always the same. What the lie was, I would come home, or my father would come home drunk, and he would ask me if I did a specific chore. If the answer was no or not yet, I would get hit. So I learned to lie. Yeah, I vacuumed the rug. I mean, he couldn't tell.
Yeah,
I didn't. That wasn't truth.
Yeah.
But I learned, and I could give you 20 examples of that, but it's lying to protect myself from physical harm. Okay. When your father walks into the room drunk late at night, I'm asleep, but I'm not asleep.
Yeah.
Hey, it's not, hi, Dad, how you doing?
Yeah.
It's
You're
a
sleeping.
lie. So
You're sleeping with one eye open, they say.
Yeah.
Hey,
Believing I'm asleep.
Hey, draw pictures with words what that scene looked like. So your dad comes home. So were you in a small house? Were you in a room separate? Were you?
Yes, I had my own room. We had a 5-bedroom home, upstate New York. And my father would come home drunk. First of all, I would hear him come up the driveway.
Yeah.
And the fear would come upon me. This is if I'm awake. And let's just say it's 9 or 10, it's dark. And what he would do is he would come up the stairs, he would walk into my room. The room is dark, but I could hear him and I can tell he's drunk.
Yeah.
And I'm just hoping he does not wake me up or ask me to get up or whatever, because then it would begin. And I just want to share this. One of the saddest things that my father would do to me is that I would walk up to him with my head down because I sort of knew I was going to get hit. And he would always say to me, look at me when I'm talking to you, drunk. And when I would look at him, that's when he would hit me. He would wait till I was looking at him so that I could see the fist or the hand come hit me. So as a 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old, you shouldn't live like that. And there's other listeners who have experienced this.
Sure.
And my heart goes out to you.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm visual, right? So I'm starting to, I see that moment. And it's interesting because when I grew up, my dad would come home probably 1, 2 in the morning. So he would be out drinking, and he was a professional. So he worked, he was an educator, and my room was downstairs, and I would sleep with one eye open. As I said, I had 2 brothers, but I had 2 brothers and myself. I'm the middle child, but I took most of the physical stuff. And a lot of what you're talking about, I took that from my dad. It was interesting because he would come home and get into these fits too. And he was in the military, so commanding kind of officer. So I had that, right? Do as I say, not as I do type thing. And the fear factor Now that I think about it, this is interesting. You're opening me up. Yeah, I told a lot of lies too. Back then, by the way, we had to rake the shag carpet. They had the long pile carpet in their home. We had a nice home. My dad built it with my uncle, but we were in a middle class, upper class neighborhood. The pile carpet was red shag rug, and my mother had a plastic rake, and you had to rake the flipping thing. It's like,
Let me tell you a quick one on that one on the rug.
Yeah.
So we had this Persian rug, beautiful Persian, unique rug. And every day during the week, I wore dress shoes to go to school. I was known as when sneakers type. Anyway, I had to polish my shoes. So you had the dauber. I don't know if you know what those are.
Oh yeah,
And it was black. I was polishing my shoes, somehow either forgot or whatever, and the dauber went onto the carpet and put like this 4-inch black stain of black shoe polish.
Oh no.
I'm freaking out. So I move a piece of furniture right in the middle of this rug. There was nothing on the rug, but now there's a piece of furniture. And I remember when Mom came home, he said, Kenneth, because she always called me Kenneth, why is that piece of furniture on the rug? And I'm like, I don't know. And she went to move it back, and there's this big.
That's funny.
That wasn't a good day.
what was her name, by the way? Your mom?
Irene.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because one of the skills in business, man, is to find solutions to problems. So you found a solution there.
Not a solution. Short term.
Oh man! So going back to neuroscience, because I very much after a brain injury studied a lot about that. The child, until the frontal lobe is mature, about 25 years old, everything goes in as truth. So all these neuronal pathways are in there. And when Ken says broken, everyone, I think I understand. Your brain really is broken. It's wired with a bunch of shit, and it's not truth. You're told here's who you are. You don't know who you are, and when there's trauma, from my understanding, is you create these adaptations because you don't know the truth about your life. So you fill in things in this story you carry. And you talk a lot about some of this stuff in your book. Let's take a bit of a shift to mezzo, which is the sector. So I think we have a pretty good understanding of the beginnings of your life personally. We'll continue to weave that. So riff on this. In your various stints in prison, you learned to navigate complex social hierarchies and earned respect without violence. How did those same skills translate into your success as a nonprofit fundraiser?
Well, probably, man, there's another one I've talked about. I learned respect. So my next book is on respect and disrespect. I'm literally writing a whole book on this.
Nice.
I find it so fascinating. So what is respect? Respect is acknowledgement of a person's position or stature within a community. Yeah. It has to be within the community. So there's a community on the streets, there's a community in prison, there's a community in the boardroom. It's a community. Yeah. And so what I learned in prison is how to respect another man or woman, but another person, because the repercussions of disrespect were painful. Yeah. It could be death on the streets or in the penitentiary if you disrespect another man. So then I go into the world, the community, we call the civilian community. And then I go into the work community. I'm working for corporations, I'm on boards, and I know how to respect people. I know that how to acknowledge their position. So in the nonprofit world, which is the world I came out of when I first got out of college, first got out of prison, there is the top person is the CEO, president, executive director, whatever term we want to use. And you have to acknowledge that person, male or female, what is their position within that organization? They are the face, they make the decisions, they sign on the front of the check. I always like that line, not on the back of the check. Yeah. And I used to tell all my team members, the first rule of working here is we never embarrass the executive director, because that's out of respect. We don't, we'll take the thing and then we can deal with it behind closed doors, but we always acknowledge and respect. So that's just one of many lessons I learned, literally. And you can learn lessons, but the thing is, you have to be teachable.
That's right.
Teachable. And I wasn't the first 2 times I went to prison. I was not teachable.
Yeah, I think it's a good, remarkable thing, though, an example to others that you can acknowledge that. Just going to read something else there off this paper I got here, which is my summary from the book. This part, I call it's the descent, post-graduation to rock bottom. So your Miller's addiction progression follows classic patterns, but with unique details that illuminate the disease's cunning. His ability to maintain jobs and relationships while spiraling deeper into addiction demonstrates how high-functioning addicts can delay consequences while accumulating massive internal damage. So a few other things. The prostitution and pimping chapters are among the book's most difficult but necessary sections. His relationship with Siri, the teenage girl he pimped, represents one of his deepest regrets and demonstrates how trauma treats trauma in endless cycles. His time in crack houses provides anthropological insight into addiction subcultures. Just talk about that part, from the graduation, because there's a lot of people. I just was set it up this way too, that I'm a CEO from industry, and I've had an addicted father, and I've coached people, and I've heard I was lonely at the top, and there's many high functioning leaders who have trouble with alcohol or using drugs, who are dealing with these dark secrets. Just talk about what I said there, fill in some details so they understand that part of the story.
Well, I think one of the most important words is secrets. And, until I dealt with the secrets, I was doomed, whether I was clean, sober, or in the addiction.
Yeah.
So I had secrets, and they were things that I believed if I revealed them, you would treat me in a certain way. Yeah. And my core issue is abandonment. My core issue is rejection.
Yeah.
And so I had the secrets, and my secrets were, the predominant secret was the prostitution, being a male prostitute. That was my number one secret. I never wanted anybody to know about that. I didn't want people to know about the shooting of my mother. I didn't want people to know that I pimped teenage girls.
Yeah.
Up and down Seattle and Aurora Avenue and all that. I didn't want people to know these things.
Yeah.
And one of the difficulties of being a high functioning addict or alcoholic is that we can put a mask or persona on that you would never know. You look at me today, you would never know that I've experienced.
No, exactly. Yeah.
People who can see me,
I mean, look at the cover of that book, right? This is a thing about persona and masks. You meet a guy like this, and now listen to the way you're talking. Keep going.
I had that same mask in '91. I had that same look with a little more hair, but I had the same look. I used to model. I modeled on 3 different occasions.
Sure.
I've done some phenomenal things.
Yeah.
So I look good, I smell good, I talk good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Quickly when I get cleaned up, or even in my addiction. And then, but behind all that is this great fear that you're going to find it. You're going to find out.
Yeah.
You're going to find out my truth.
Yeah.
And then it's going to cause me discomfort.
I'm remembering from in the book there, seeing that thread that I relate to too, where it's some call it the imposter syndrome, where because of all the "you're not good enough, look at me in the face, son," and then bang and this and that, you're not good enough. Basically, your brain's reverting to this unconscious bias of I'm not good enough. So I kind of read through your story and went, wow, he's achieving these things, he's doing this, but you could never accept it. I think that's a really important thing for you to talk to us about too. But I want to read something else out here for you before, and you can riff on this too. That I call this part 3, rock bottom and spiritual awakening. So everyone, we're kind of weaving this story. So you get the picture where Ken started, foster, being separated, abandonment, brother. Dad is correct me if I'm wrong, but dealer and a pimp kind of person.
Biological.
And all this experience you have, and then you're leading down this path to your own addictions, and the utility closet scene that opens the book, I say represents not just physically but spiritually and emotionally Your arrest after trying to sell crack and instead of using it marks a turning point. And then in the book, I highlighted this one line, and you can talk about it. Just let me find it here, Ken. Here it's on in the introduction. So when the officer asked me why I was crying, I was sobbing like a lost child in the midday sun. I couldn't quite explain. Quote, you said, "I'm crying because you saved my life, sir." Tell us about that.
Yeah, one of the most important moments in my life. In life, you have, and every human has this, has profound moments. They're a moment. And I had been arrested, and when I was arrested, I had a pair of sneakers on. I had no socks. I had a pair of shorts on. I had no underwear. I had a T-shirt. Those were the sole possessions I owned in the world.
Oh my God.
And I was dying. I was dying spiritually, and then I was going to do the physical.
Yeah.
But I had an opportunity to go to treatment again, and my mother bought me a bus ticket to go back to treatment, and I needed some money for the bus ride from Reno, Nevada to Seattle, Washington. So I went out and do what I do, which is the hustle.
Yeah.
And to get my payment for the hustle was a rock of crack cocaine. In my 20 years of smoking crack, there's only been 2 times I haven't smoked every single piece of crack in front of me, even if it made me OD, which I did in LA. But here I got this $10 rock, but I need some money. I'm trying. I got a little bit of hope. I have the mustard seed, and I sold it to an undercover cop.
Wow.
And so I'm arrested, and I'm waiting for the paddy wagon. They literally have a paddy wagon, and I'm waiting, and I'm crying profusely. I'm not talking about sobbing.
And you're 8. How old are you again, Ken? Back then, how old are you?
It was 21 years ago, so I was 41.
Okay.
So I'm handcuffed behind my back. I get tears flowing down my eyes. So the cop thinks something's wrong physically. Maybe, I'm hurt or what. And plus I had my jaws wired shut because I had gotten my jaw broken twice in the month before. And he's like, "Why are you crying? Are you all right? You all right?" And I never forget looking at him, and I said, I'm crying, and they're tears of gratitude because I'm going to live. And why do I say that? Because I can do prison. I've been to prison twice before. I get a controlled environment, okay?
Sure.
Where I don't have to worry about me on the streets because I can't survive me on the streets.
Yeah.
And so, again, that was one of the most profound moments of my life because I knew I was going to live at that point.
Yeah, it's profound. Hold up the book again and just again read the title. Everybody here with Ken Miller, the author of
Becoming Ken, One Black Man's Journey from the Ivy League to Prison and Back Again.
So well done. It's like you were right on cue, man. It's like you've done that before. Yeah, so I'm now on page X1X. It's at the beginning here. I'm just going to hold this up, and I'm going to read this out. And because you said Becoming Ken, it says, "Becoming Ken, if I had to pinpoint the single greatest challenge on my journey, it wasn't quitting crack or facing prison. It was surviving my own self, the man who lied to people he loved, the man who betrayed his own mother, the man who used women, men, anyone to fill a bottomless void." One with a rational mind who's never experienced what you did, man, and this is not judgmental, would say you did what you did to go raise money, get money for whatever. Why wouldn't you just go get a job, work at a corner store? What I guess is it because the frame of mind when you're in the shoes you were in? Is it the drugs? Is it the I'm not good enough? Is it the what? Like how do we, as somebody who's never been through that, how do I interpret that?
Well, one of the things we used to have on the streets is I am the judge, jury, and executioner. And we would say that to other people. Well, I was saying that to myself. Wow. I had so much self-hatred.
Yeah.
And I felt that I was such a failure as a human.
Yeah.
That I am going to punish myself. One of the things I say to people, the joy I have today is that I am not in an adversarial relationship with self. And I talk about this all the time, self-talk. I'm always talking to myself.
Yeah.
Good, bad, or indifferent. Yeah. Back then it was very bad, but I'm talking to myself, and sometimes verbally, most of the time internal. And so what I'm saying to myself is that you're less than. You don't even deserve to live. You deserve all the pain because you've done this, this, and this. That is a byproduct of these choices that you have made to be a street level addict, alcoholic.
Yeah. Yeah, this is all I. This is like this is all I am. This is who I am. There's another part in the brain science of something called peptides, where the brain releases peptides. So if you're living, this is just some things I understand. If you're living, say, as a woman or a man in a relationship, and you're beaten all the time, and you're going through all this constant, so your cortisol levels are up, and your sympathetic nervous system, the smoke alarm's on. You're always on alert. What's interesting, I learned about that. Ken, tell me what you think. But the brain creates these peptides, chemicals, and things, and it's like a rush. But then when that all imagine this, how backwards it sounds. When that all levels out and it's like everything's good, the brain goes, wait a minute, where's that normal? I need more of that. So we can self-sabotage and go back and do the things that we actually believe consciously we want to escape, but we don't know how to get out of that cycle. What's your thought on that?
Well, you can say I'm an intellectual. Since 2004, I've read over 1,000 nonfiction books, over 1,000.
Amazing.
I did 161 year in prison. I mean, what else am I going to do?
Yeah.
Read books. And I have to admit, a few of them were Dean Koontz. They weren't nonfiction. I couldn't find hardly anything else in the library. But having said that, in the Journal of Addiction and Recovery, there was a great article on neurotransmitters in the brain. And what had happened to me, I've been to 14 inpatient treatment centers. So I've been trying over the years. And usually around 90 days, I would relapse back onto coke. And I didn't understand why. Why around 90? I thought it was because of the way the programs were set up to recover. Yeah. But what I found out is that what we do is when we do cocaine or crack cocaine or whatever you want to call it, it depletes serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, and those get depleted. Then it takes about 90 days for that synaptic gap and those neurotransmitters to start flowing between the synaptic gaps.
Yeah.
And so when that happens, the brain is like, okay, I'm ready for you to deplete this serotonin and this dopamine again.
That's very interesting, man.
Blew me away. That's one of the reasons why, Tom, I love truth.
Yeah.
And I seek it all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you can't overcome that, but at least now that I know, it gets me to at least be to be observant that I'm at the 90-day. Yeah. And I know that for a lot of areas of my life, things that I have to be careful with.
Well, first of all, we're going to give you, let's see if I can find it here, a round of applause. You're going to get some applause from our audience, our fake audience, about that book reading thing. I remember hearing growing up in business, people saying you can get a university degree by just listening to audiobooks in your car on the way to work. But I read that in the book. Thanks for reminding me that somewhere I read you were doing like 15 books a month or something, and read. And way to go, because you're a very well read, but also when you're reading your book, there's a lot in there, but it's got that intellectual substance to it, which I think people can learn from. Let me throw this out at you. We're still in mezzo here. You boldly promised Beans Cafe. Let's assume people don't know what that means. You boldly promised Beans Cafe you'd raise $400,000 in your first year with zero fundraising experience, then delivered $700,000. What drives that kind of audacious confidence, and how do you channel it constructively now?
I love that question, because this is what I tell people. You've got to understand this. I go to Dartmouth College. I get my Ivy League education. My first job is sales with the 3M Corporation. So I went to their sales school. Then I went to Kodak. Then I go on the streets. And what do? I sell.
You sell.
I sell. I've been in sales my whole life, adult life, legal and illegal. And I'm very good at it. And so fundraising is sales. It's just for a nonprofit. That's a tax status that the IRS gives you, but it's sales. I'm selling a feeling. You want to support what we do in the community. We feed hungry adults and children in Anchorage, Alaska. I'm going to make an offer, what we call an ask, but I'm good at that. I've been doing it. So and plus I can read a P&L. I can read a profit and loss. I have a business background.
Yes.
And so when I looked at the numbers, I said, what are you doing? Your sales? Oh, we haven't been doing anything. And I'm like, but I tell you, I do look back and I'm like, man, what gave you the audacity to do that? And then I did very well. I did very well.
That's remarkable.
Yeah,
that's remarkable, man. What a story of redemption. I'm going to just change the view on the screen here. Put the other camera up again. So in the studio here, I have another sheet that has your background, and I actually just went through and pulled out it evoked some questions. And then one of the things, because you're talking about like when you see the story of where you came from, the prison, the addiction, this, and then all of a sudden it's like, boop, now he's in this career. We hear so many stories, and I've interviewed others who come out of prisons or even the military where they can't be accepted into corporate life for two reasons. They don't know how to be navigated, but obviously the other one is you might come out with a criminal record. You got to go through vetting and, job and all this kind of stuff. So my question was, how did he record? How did he overcome his own record, to be trusted with money and in business, in corporations? Like, how you can be succinct on it, but did somebody help you, or did you have an inside hand, or somebody who helped and said this guy's good?
Yep. I had a mentor, a guy named Jim Posey.
Okay.
From Anchorage, Alaska. He was the general manager of Municipal Light and Power, one of the top businessmen in Anchorage. I had met him back in the 80s. Yeah. Ran into him 35 years later, and he continued to mentor me, and he vouched for me to get that job at Beans Cafe. Wow. And without that, I probably wouldn't be sitting here.
Yeah. Well, amen to him, man. Is he a faith-based man, or what?
Sure.
Yeah. I assume you are too.
Yes.
Yeah. God teaches us. I mean, I'm faith-based too. I'm, baptized and all that, but God teaches us to go in service, and that's a good segue into sort of the last journey here in the conversation, which is about. I'm just going to find it on my sheet here. Sorry, just let me find this here. Reconstruction and service. So Miller's transition from prison to nonprofit leadership illustrates how recovery must be active and service-oriented to sustain itself. And then I put his success in Beans Cafe wasn't just professional achievement. It was existential validation that his life could create value rather than destroy it. So let's get back into Plato's. As someone who's been on both sides, receiving services at missions and shelters, then raising money for them, what do donors and public misunderstand about the people these organizations serve?
They just misunderstand them. I don't want to be trite on this. The difficulty for most individuals is they don't have that philanthropic spirit. Yeah, I'm being honest. That's just, I know what the numbers are. I can give you numbers.
Sure.
So why don't they have it? Because most people are selfish. They're self-centered and selfish. I mean, that's my truth. And that's, in a way, that's fine as long as you give of yourself to family and loved ones.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. And not everyone is going to be able to have either the resources, the time, energy, or capacity to support things that they believe in. Yeah. I just understood giving back because again, what made it easy for me is I was a recipient. I'd been in kitchens for 20 years. I'd been in shelters for 20 years.
Yeah.
I've known organizations that helped me. And then when I had an opportunity to give back, I gave back and continue to this day giving back.
Well, amen to you, man. That's I've heard it said this way, that we're called to serve. A lot of people are called to serve because there's some connection from their life. So this is like giving back. Like my dad used to go in his AA recovery. My dad used to. I found this out before he died. He used to go into prisons and mentored people. So guess what? Today, just in the last couple of years, I'm now involved in a prison ministry. Why did I do that? It's because there's so many things I could have done to serve, but I end up in a prison ministry serving because that thread in my lifeline that experience I had with my father, seeing him do that. And it's funny because when I'm in that prison doing it's called the parental reading program.
Mhm.
I call them fathers in red jumpsuits because they sit in a library across from me reading children's books, and I record them. And you see right through their masks, and you see the fathers, you see the human beings, you don't see the criminals, you see the men who really are the decent people who made mistakes. It's quite remarkable for me, man, to do that. Let me throw this out.
Can I
Go
speak
ahead.
to something real quick?
Yeah.
Because you brought it up. What was my calling? What is my calling?
Yeah.
And I had to identify that. What I realized is that I have a gift. And it's a gift from God. I have a gift that I can articulate
Yes.
verbally and in writing experiences that are hopefully will be of positive growth. 99% of people could not write that book. They would not say that I was a male prostitute. That's the lowest thing you can be on the streets, other than being a child molester, is a male prostitute. But I put that out into the public realm because I don't have fear of you liking me. My wife loves me. God loves me. I'm cool. And I like me. I love me, to be
I
honest.
love it. I
I'm
love
cool.
it. That's another little applause tree.
That's it. That's my truth.
That's the greatest message so far on the show. Looking at Ken Miller here, saying, I like myself.
Yeah.
What's your wife's first name?
Reno.
She must be a very special lady. Where did you guys meet?
We met through Facebook.
Yeah. Wow, that's very cool. Do you have any
She saw me
kids?
on Facebook, and
Do you have kids?
no, but we have grandkids.
Oh,
She has
well,
kids.
they're
And
a blessing.
they're
Man.
mine now. Oh, yeah, I love them. Oh, you
Yeah,
guys.
change your life.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, this thing about what's my calling, you articulated well, and I have to say this, just interviewing you, there's a way about you. You have a way. I think sometimes I study facial features, the shape of your head, just the look, your appearance. You're somebody who does connect. There's a lot of empathy from you. And you come across nice. Like they say, I did a TED Talk a long time ago, and they say in the first minute or two, you got to connect with your audience in their brain. So they got to go, oh, I like this guy. You have that likability, man. And when the story comes out, it's like, I don't think anything less of you for telling your story. It's like, I actually am not threatened by you, which is the reason why you can tell me your story. It's like you're just one of those people I can spend time with. All right, we're getting close to the last mile here. You doing okay?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm doing great.
So the mentorship you provide to young men seems central to your identity now. What do you see in their struggles that connects to your own journey? And what keeps you grounded when their pain triggers your memories?
Well, so it's macro, definitely macro. And the
Yeah.
experiences being a Black male. That's who I work with exclusively. Is
Okay.
Black.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't work with women. I don't work with people
Yeah.
who are out of color.
Yep.
And that was a conscious decision and choice because I know what it's like to not have a Black male role model. Okay.
Interesting.
And the men that I work with are lacking in a Black male role model in the corporate world, in the family world, but someone that they can either emulate or learn from. Because I only have one goal as a mentor. I've been mentoring for 15 years, and that's to engender dreams. So I work with men to make their dreams come to fruition. That's the first question I ask them. What's your dream? Not only that, I say, what's your dream? And I give you permission to dream. I say that. I give you to a grown man. Because my guys are between like 21 and 55.
Yeah, I mean, when I reflect on it, there's probably not a lot of people who have somebody say, you know what, you have permission to dream, because when we're kids, we have that dream stolen from us. You're not good enough. Don't waste your time painting pictures, son. Go get a real job kind of thing. That's very interesting. I was going to ask you that because the title of the book in particular uses the word Black, and I looked at your face and I went, I already get that. Why do you put it on the book cover? Are you like focusing on isolating people? And it's like, no, now I understand. There is a connection there. There is part of your identity, and the tribe of the people you're mentoring, you've told us, are men like you. And I think that's what makes you relatable. I wish I had somebody. My parents are from Fiji, my grandparents from India. And I was mentored by white people, North American, And I wish I had somebody that had my heritage as a mentor throughout parts of my life when my dad left. All right, let's go into the last part of the story here. I call it the unwritten chapter. This is where I get to. I came up with this idea. What if I ask you about an unwritten chapter? So I'm going to put this out to you. If you could sit down with that 21-year-old Ken, who was just starting his descent into addiction, knowing everything you know now, what would you tell him? And more importantly, would he listen?
Number one, he wouldn't. So we'll just get that out of the way. In fact, we had the same question last night I have a book study that I do. And I wouldn't have listened. Number one, I wouldn't listen to my mom. I wouldn't listen to counselors. I wouldn't listen to anyone.
Yeah.
I'm 21 and I look good. I smell good and I talk good. But if I was to say to him, I'm just tell him, hey, it's going to turn out all right. You're going to do what you're going to do. But it's going to turn out all right. That's what I would tell him. And then today I would remember when I came back there all those years ago and it turned out all right. I'm good today. I'm good. I'm well.
Yeah.
I'm very well.
What an inspiring message, man. And I can see how those young guys you mentor, hearing that, and even what you said about last night in your book club or whatever you call that. That's only Ken can deliver that message. What a powerful, resilient message. And if it's sincere, it really moves people. I'm going to put something on the screen here now, and then we're going to, after that, wrap up with a couple things to honor you. Is you okay with that?
Yes. I have a few minutes.
Okay. So, Ken, I'm revealing now your international book review. I've read your book, and this is now live on Amazon. And forgive me, it's very small to read, so I'm going to just pull it up here. I'm just going to lean in, actually, and read it to you. I've interviewed hundreds of transformation stories over the years, but Ken Miller's Becoming Ken stands apart as one of the most honest, unflinching, and ultimately helpful books I've ever encountered. This isn't another sanitized recovery memoir where everything works out neatly. Miller takes us deep into the hell of addiction with brutal honesty, from Ivy League privilege to sleeping with cockroaches in utility closets, from corporate success to selling his body for drugs. He doesn't glamorize or minimize the damage he caused to himself and others. What makes this book extraordinary is Miller's refusal to claim his suffering had some grand purpose. Instead, he shows how grace, the space between what happens to us and how we respond, can transform even the worst circumstances. And I'll zip down to the last paragraph. People can go online and find the rest. If you're struggling with addiction, trauma, or feeling beyond redemption, this book offers hope without false promises. If you work with people in crisis, it provides invaluable perspective. If you're simply human and imperfect, Miller's journey reminds us that grace is available to all of us. Becoming Ken earns its place among the great recovery memoirs I've read. It's a book I'll be recommending for years to come. Highest possible recommendation. So there you go. 5 stars, international review. Congratulations, Ken.
Thank you. Very appreciative of that.
All right, and I'll send you a link to that online. The last question for you, and then we're going to honor you with a quick award. We have a segment called the Warrior's Torch, where the last guest left a question for you, and you get to leave one for them, and you can do that after. So here's the question the last guest said to ask you. Looking back, what situation that felt like a setback at the time, but turned out to be the breakthrough you needed most?
It was taking away the power of words.
Yeah.
So I had my nephew call me a B, and you can fill in the rest of the blank.
Yeah.
And anybody who had called me that in the past would have been assaulted physically.
Yeah.
And I had to stop and try to understand why that word had so much power. It's just a word. And he didn't mean it in a pejorative manner. So anyway, that was a lesson I learned.
Yeah. Thank you for that answer. Well, the other guests, I told them watch the show and you'll see that answer. Put one more camera on the screen. So now we're going to, before we wrap up and get the last word from you, give you an award. Did you know you were getting an award today?
No, I didn't.
Well, you are. So have you heard of challenge coins? Oh my goodness. And this is special. Okay. So it comes in a little sleeve. I'll put it up on my side camera like that. And challenge coins surfaced during the World War I era. The practice of carrying a coin designed specifically for a unit was popular with the Army Special Forces. Carrying the coin at all times, presenting it when challenged to prove affiliation with that unit resulted in a number of consequences for those who could not produce their coin. Most popular required the coinless soldier to buy a round of drinks. That practice continues to be popular today. So, Ken, the coins are used in first responder. Every society organization that's very popular, people collect them. When I started the show, I wanted a coin for the top 1% of people in the world who found something deep in their traumatic experience and turned it into something they do to make an impact. They're hand painted and crafted, pretty hefty. The front is the show itself, emblem. The back is Joseph Campbell's narrative, The Hero's Journey, which you've gone on. It's incredibly intricate. And so congratulations and welcome to the Quiet Warrior community. These are very precious and connects us all.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
All right. So we'll get your address offline to get that out to you. And so now as I move to the wrap up with Ken Miller here. Ken, last word from you. Tell us where we can get a hold of you. Anything at all you want to leave that you haven't said out to the audience.
Yeah, if anyone wants to get in contact with me, I speak all over the United States and the world. But you can get a hold of me at Ken Miller 84 on LinkedIn or kenmillerspeaks.com.
Very good. Okay. Awesome. And get the book. Get the book, read it, write a review, because that's how we can get the word out for Ken. Hey, Ken, it's been a complete honor. Thanks for being here, man.
Thank you.
And we're now connected for life. Congratulations. And everyone, find that true passion like you hear in Ken Miller here. Find the purpose deep within you and live that life, but live the life that you deserve and desire. And we'll see you all next week on the Quiet Warrior Show. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Quiet Warrior Show. Create is a motive-based leadership development firm. www.kreat.ca.
I have another meeting. Yeah. We're good?
Just a few seconds, Ken. All right, Ken, you can drop off. Keep in touch.
Okay. Thanks a lot.